as they come up, I want to tell you that if you ever hear of a trip that's being made to go to Japan, y'all come on up. If you ever hear about plans for a trip to Japan, you be the first one to sign up. Go. I have been, I think, 5 times. You will be blessed. It will be worth every 13 hours that you spend on that plane. That's how long it took them to get here on a plane. I'm telling you, if you ever get that chance, young or old, rich or poor, get on that plane and go to Japan and go to Japan Presbytery. You will be blessed. So that's a seed dropped for women's ministry because they have a powerful women's ministry in Japan Presbytery. So I won't do very well at pronouncing their names either. I call them friends. This presentation, let me see if I can get it going right. This presentation was put together from the book, if you've ever heard of it, The Hearth and the Chalice. If you have not heard of it, you need to find it and buy it and read it. So it was put together from that. In Osaka, Japan, there is a school that was started by the first missionaries. They wrote a book in English for their 100th anniversary, and I was gifted a copy when I went to Osaka. So it's pulled from there. And then also, Reverend Iwa Sato did a presentation during our 135th pilgrimage to Evansville, Indiana, which is where women's ministry first got started. And he did a presentation there, so we stole a little from your presentation. So it's been put together from several different places. I will try and say our friends' names. Noriko Matsumoto, Hane Hamazumi, Michiko Saseko, Hideko Ushiodo, and Tomie Iwashita. But let me tell you, they're kind and gracious and loving and warm and friendly, and they speak your language. So this is a presentation of Mount Fuji, cherry blossoms, and Cumberland Presbyterians in Japan. My name is Mary Bell Lambert Darby. My husband was pastor of First Cumberland Presbyterian Church in Evansville, Indiana. He received a letter from his dear friend, the Reverend A.D. Hale, a newly deployed missionary to Japan, inquiring about the possibilities of organizing a women's board of mission. Of course, he immediately came to me, and when the church's missionary society ladies got involved, the ball got rolling. We sent out invitations to the whole church through the pages of the Cumberland Presbyterian magazine for women to gather during the General Assembly for the purpose of organizing into a women's board of foreign missions. On May 25th, 1880, 75 delegates arrived in Evansville from all directions of the church. One of the very first things we did after organizing ourselves into a board was to issue a call to missionary service. And our very first missionaries were Julia Leavitt and Alice Orr, both very capable young women. They were commissioned and arrived in Japan in 1881, just one short year after we were organized. You'll hear their stories along with the stories of others a bit later.
Hello, I'm Mary Hale. ジョン・バクスター・ヘール牧師は私の夫で、私たちは1877年1月末に大阪に到着しました。日本で主にお仕えするために私たちはいろいろな経験をしました。それは実りの多い充実した働きでした。素晴らしい奉仕の技や奇跡さえも見ました。生活は厳しく非常にやりがいのあるものでした。 私は子育てをしながら夫の働きを支えるためにできることは何でもしました。最大の難関の一つは言葉でした。私たちは日本語を話すことができず、日本の人々は英語を理解できませんでした。しかし、神様はそのような障害も乗り越えてくださいました。私は神様があらゆる障害を乗り越えて働かれることを示すこの物語が大好きです。
こんにちは。私の名前はレイチェル・ヘールで、夫はアレクサンダー・ダーラム・ヘールです。私たちは弟夫婦の1年後の1878年に日本に到着しました。夫と私の情熱の一つは、若い女性たちの教育で私たちはそれに人生を捧げました。1884年、弟と夫はウィルミナ女学院を設立しました。現在では大阪女学院と呼ばれ、大学、短大、大学院を要しています。今日に至るまで、それは素晴らしい教育機関となっています。この学校には、これから紹介するアメリカから来た優秀な女性宣教師がいました。けれども私は神がどのような障害にも打ちことができるという物語を紹介したいと思います。ご存知のように第二次世界大戦が勃発し、女学校のあった大阪はアメリカ海軍の爆撃の対象となりました。1945年6月1日、校内の建物はすべて破壊されました。女学校の先生や生徒たちはすべてが失われたように感じました。ヘール氏や他の宣教師たちの努力も水の泡になったようでした。しかしです、焼け野原になったキャンパスの瓦礫の中にまだ2本の木が立っていたのです。果たしてこの2本の木は生き残るのでしょうか。翌年の春、この切り株から新しい芽が出て数本出ているのが見えました。イザヤ書11章1節のエッサイの株から一つの芽が燃え出てという御言葉を覚えていますか。その御言葉こそが彼らの希望でした。先生も生徒も保護者もみんな希望を捨てませんでした。キャンパスは再建され、美しく新しいチャペルはヘールホールと名付けられました。現在ではそこで数えきれないほどの礼拝や音楽プログラム、さまざまなイベントが開催されています。そして教職員と新入生は新学期には必ず私たちヘール夫婦の墓を訪れ、カンバーランド長老教会を通して神様の驚くべき物語を語り継いでいます。
私の名前はジュリア・リービットです。私の物語をお伝えできることを嬉しく思います。私が生きてきたような人生を誰が歩んできたでしょう。私はダービー夫人が話してくれた女性の伝道局の最初の会合に出席していました。宣教師への招きがされたとき、私はそこにいたのです。最初に思ったのは、私には何も捧げるものはないということでした。また、誰かをサポートするためのお金もありませんでした。私が捧げられるものは、私自身の命だけでした。ですから、17歳という若さで自分自身を捧げて46年間、日本で神様にお仕えしました。日本での生活で私の一番好きな話は、最初にクリスチャンになった青年の母親が言った言葉です。彼女の息子は山本周作で、息子がクリスチャンになることに反対していました。しかし、ミス・リービットや 私たちと知り合うにつれ、徐々に考えを変え始めました。彼女は自分の息子にこう言いました。自分の故郷を出て、広い海を渡って、日本の女性たちを教えるために喜んでこられた。そのような若い女性を生み出す宗教は良い宗教に違いない。私はこれまであなたがクリスチャンになることを反対してきたが、これからはあなたがその道を歩むことを完全に賛成する。もし私がもっと若かったら、私も同じ道に従うだろう。なんて素晴らしい物語でしょう。そして私の心の中では、この母親も最終的にクリスチャンになったと信じています。
My name is Alice Orr, and I'm originally from Kirksville, Missouri. Maybe some of you know where that is. I too answered God's call at that very first meeting of the Women's Board of Foreign Missions. Julia and I were so very young for this life-changing adventure. While my family supported this decision, it wasn't easy for them. The work was hard, challenging, and often with very few results. There were just not enough preachers to provide regular services in those early days. I would do whatever I could to help fill the gap. I remember one time, though, when the people urged me to preach because I knew the way of Jesus. I really prayed on this urgent request. Yes, I knew the way. Yes, I knew the Japanese language, but I was a woman. I wrote in my report the following thoughts. If it is a sin for me to keep silent before this shepherdless people, remember my Presbyterian brethren, my past education. God knows it is thus I have been taught. Are there no Christian men in America who are holding unsaid in their mouths the word the Lord has meant for this people? Must it be said by a woman? I soon came to believe that yes, it must be said by a woman.
Hi, my name is Americas Drennan, and I'm the grandmother of the group. I, too, heard God's call to go to Japan as a missionary when it was issued by the Women's Board of Foreign Missions. I was in my 50s. My husband and son were deceased. I was busy with forming organizations, societies, and working with young Christian women. I was settled and content, but God had other plans for me. When the board approached me with this idea of going to Japan as a missionary to serve as the first president of the girls' school, I declined several times, but eventually I surrendered to God's call. I boarded a steamship, Arabic, and arrived in Yokohama on the 30th of April, 1883. And I never looked back. My life was now in Japan. I served as president of that glorious school for 4 years and stayed in Japan serving God for 20 years. People say that I'm a frontier leader in women's education in the Osaka area. I don't know about that, but I do know that God called me and I went. It is amazing that a woman of my advanced age would be called by God to this kind of work. And just look at how the school has flourished through the years. Computers, art, archery, not only a junior and senior high school for girls, but a university and a peace studies postgraduate program.
I want to tell you about the story of how the Cumberland Presbyterian Church continued after that horrible conflict and war. It was a gift of an English Bible to Mr. Yoshiji Washizawa from the chaplain at the Atsugi base, located in Yamato City. Koza Church is located near this place. Yamato City used to be a place where artists and politicians lived, and Mr. Washizawa was a politician. After reading that English Bible, Mr. Washizawa was of the firm belief that Japan had made a big mistake of war because they did not know Christianity. That Bible changed his life. From that point forward, he was determined to work toward establishing a Christian church in Yamato City. Together with two other community leaders, Mr. Tanaka and Mr. Suzuki, they planted what was to eventually become the Koza CP Church. Just like the shoots growing out of the stump on the school campus years earlier, God's word endures. It is a miracle that the first CP church planted in Tokyo was started by non-Christians who had a vision. They called their first pastor soon, and new missionaries arrived on the fertile field of Japan, Thomas and Fran Forester. And to think it all started with someone giving a Bible to a non-believer.
Hi, my name is Fran Forester. My husband Thomas and I were the first missionaries to serve in Japan since the union of 1906 with the Presbyterian Church U.S. Our work was very difficult because we were the first ones to serve after a long time. We didn't know the language, and we didn't have the connection with other missionaries. We arrived at the port in Yokohama with our children on February the 19th, 1953, aboard the President Cleveland ship. We served the people of Japan in many ways until 1964, a total of 11 years. One of the ways that we served was by sharing your gifts with them. The people were very poor, and local CPW groups like yourselves would send us crayons in packs of 24, along with coloring books and picture books. All these gifts we shared with the people, which made the Japanese children very happy. My husband Thomas was a skilled carpenter like his father, so he helped to build the Koza, y'all say it,
Shibusawa,
and the,
Kibogaoka.
thank you, churches. See, I told you, don't you just love them? Along with the young boys and men of the church and the surrounding area. This shared labor helped us to build strong and lasting relationships with the Japanese people. I'm excited to tell you that Koza CP Church is an active and vibrant church today and celebrates their 77th anniversary this year. What an amazing story this church and Japan Presbytery have.
It is an amazing story, and I'm honored to have played a role in Japan Presbytery's story. My name is Beverly St, and my part of the story began when I arrived in Japan on August 13, 1964, aboard President Cleveland, just like the Foresters 11 years earlier. I arrived with my husband, Melvin, but most of you know him as Buddy, along with our children. Together, we led English Bible classes at our churches, supported the national leaders of the churches of Japan, and did whatever we could. One thing I particularly enjoyed was teaching the Japanese ladies all about American cooking. I also learned how to make a few tasty Japanese dishes myself. Together, we had many good meals and wonderful conversations, which helped us to build strong and lasting relationships. When we left the field in 1990, it felt like I was leaving my home. I'd leave my daughter Roberta in Japan, who was born in Japan and was a young adult woman by that time. To her, Japan was home. So I left my heart in Japan in many ways.
The churches in Japan Presbytery have vibrant, life-giving ministries. In 2008, General Assembly was held in Japan for the first time overseas. The Reverend Pam Phillipsburg supported Japanese CPWM executive officers to prepare for the GA and the CPWM convention, and even invited them to US in 2006 and 2007 to watch and learn about convention beforehand. Hideko and Michiko were the members of the executive officers. And then we were grateful to host the General Assembly with our Japanese hospitality. We did tea ceremonies, kimono wearing, and calligraphy, and let the Americans experience Japanese culture. Yeah. Pam has been our friend for a very long time, and we are grateful to tell you the Japan story with Pam. Japan Presbytery ordained their our first minister, women minister, March 16, 2014, the same year that we celebrated the 125th ordination anniversary of Louisa Woosley. The Reverend Nobuko Seki has provided excellent pastoral leadership alongside her colleagues both in Japan and the US. In fact, she served as vice moderator of the GA in 2016. I am excited to tell you that Japan Presbytery has another female probationer who will one day provide that same excellent ministry to the church. I also share with you that one of the biggest annual events within Japan Presbytery is the Women's Conference that happens every May. This is an all-day event, and all the ministers in the presbytery attend to support our work. Our churches in Japan are busy and active serving God, just as they have since the arrival of the first missionaries in 1877, 146 years ago. Thank you for listening to our story and celebrating God's story in our lives. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. I feel so privileged to tell you our story, Japanese story, in this conference. I didn't realize until the day before yesterday that we are doing this presentation.
Wait. She didn't know it was at this time.
Yeah.
They thought it was this afternoon in a workshop.
Yeah. Thank you, Pam. Yeah, I thought it was at the workshop, not as the morning service. But we were really surprised and nervous. Yes, but I'm happy to do this. Okay, and we Japanese really appreciate your kind and sincere works through the first women missionaries and through the chaplain when we were in great trouble. We will always remember the Women's Board of Missions' brave and firm decision to send young missionaries to Japan. And we want to thank you all by our offering to Reverend Rebecca. Okay. Yes, first. Yeah. And also, we brought small gifts to each of you, and we would like to give it to you all by the young ambassador. Yes, I'll just explain the gifts. The button badges are made of gorgeous kimono. The woman of our church cut off her kimono when we celebrate the 20th, the coming of age day ceremony. We wear that gorgeous kimono, and she made a button badge. So please receive it, and thank you for listening to us. Thank you.
I'm just going to take a little moment here. The Japan Presbytery story is an often untold story. Was some of that information new to you all? Yes. It is a precious evangelistic story that is just amazing. A church was started by a non-believer. Did y'all catch that? This presentation, I know that they would appreciate it if you would share it within your regions. It'll be available. Becky will have it, the PowerPoint. You don't have to do it in Japanese. You can do it in English. We have an English script. So Becky will have those resources. Tell their story. Be their voice here in the United States, and be encouraged by this amazing history.
Didn't I tell you you would be impressed and touched and moved and motivated, I hope, motivated to do the kind of work. Pam, we thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And for you, we thank you so much for coming. And I say we give them another round of applause.
Thank you so much.